All right, we are back with your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly, episode number 447, and we're recording live on January the 13th. Hope everyone is well. Abriana, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's early Monday morning. It is still dark here and rainy, and we are recording much earlier than usual because we got lots going on, but we are here for you guys and excited to deliver some stories and location, huh?
Yeah,
How are you
absolutely.
doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's absolutely, it's early, but yeah, I have to, Abriana is accommodating me. I have to hop on a plane to get to NRF. We've got a LBMA event there tomorrow evening with Karsten and some Europeans, members and whatnot that are all gathering together there. And I've got a couple other events while I'm there as well. So busy week, but they're all busy weeks, aren't they? So
They are. We're both accommodating because we have internal strategy meetings the next few days here for Gather Lab. And so, yeah, we're just both
yeah,
going a few different directions.
cool. Well, why don't we just jump right into it then? We've got
All
three
right.
industry news stories, three member news stories, and as always, I'll let Abriana start us off.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off with more of like an announcement of a new company that's coming on the scene in the share economy. And I like this one. I think this is pretty cool. It's called Leveled. I really like the name because when you hear what it is, it makes complete sense. But it's just level with a D, no, not ED, so Leveled. And it is for location-based tool rentals. So let's say you have a special project, you need some special tools, you can rent some tools without having to go to Home Depot and probably pay way more than you would. And also if you have lots of tools that, are not currently being used, you could, make a few bucks by renting those out. So it's obviously it's enabling specific tool and equipment rental from nearby locations and people. It's peer-to-peer transactions, similar to what we've seen with like, I'm trying to remember all the different ones, the moving stuff, the moving ones. I know Bungee, there's a few other ones. I know I've used some of them. Yeah.
Charlie.
And so, yes, very similar to all of those except with tools. And so right now this is currently in, it's called Innovation Depot, which is kind of an incubator, type of a play that's based in Birmingham, Alabama, of all places, which is kind of random, but it's their 2020 Velocity Accelerator cohort. So each company that's in there, there's like 8 companies I think that they've chosen. Each of them are receiving $50,000 from the Velocity Fund, which is supported by Regions Bank, BBVA, Blue Cross Blue Shield, UAB, the Community Foundation of Greater Birmingham, Encompass Health, a bunch of different other ones, right? Construction companies, all of these different companies that have, put money in to be a part of this. And the companies go through this 13-week business and leadership development course. And then at the end, so this started it starts today actually, and this will culminate on what they call Demo Day, which is in Iron City on April 21st. So we'll see how Level does, but I think this makes complete sense. Like, something like a pressure washer, we had to borrow one from our neighbor or we were going to rent one from Home Depot, but they're kind of, pricey. So something like this is a great option, I think. And also I don't know about you, but for me, you would much rather give a few bucks to somebody who maybe needs to make some more money on the side rather than the big corporation down the street that, makes lots of money. So I like it. Good story.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's, it's a great spin on kind of the whole sharing economy model, whether it's Uber or Zarly or TaskRabbit or all these kinds of companies we've talked about over the years. I think this is a market that, works well in this type of category. I think typically these types of tools that you're talking about, whether it's a pressure washer or a floor sander or, something like that, it's not something you necessarily need, to go and buy and have like as part of your regular tool arsenal on a regular, sort of week to week basis. But periodically you need this kind of thing if you're doing some kind of renovation or some special cleanup or, whatever it is, makeover on a floor or a room or whatever. And you want to, have access to the right tools, right? Because the right tools, you get the job done properly, right? Instead of trying to Mickey Mouse it. So, but yeah, we've all been there. We've all kind of gone to Home Depot or Lowe's and kind of rented a tool. Or up here in Canada, we used to have this company called Stanley that would rent tools. Yeah, it's not cheap. And I like the idea of just finding somebody nearby, using location data, to kind of take a tool that somebody owns and kind of, it's this sort of underutilized, sort of, the under economy, right? Of just kind of finding new ways to generate revenue off of goods you already have. And in a similar way to Zarly used to, like if you want to go skiing, but it's your first time, why go buy a brand new set of skis? Find somebody on your street who is a regular skier. Maybe they have an old pair. Maybe they got a pair that they're not using, right now or whatever. And you can just rent them, from your neighbors and that kind of thing. And I think it makes a ton of sense to me. I like that it's in a startup incubator environment. I like that they're kind of got a little bit of seed capital and kind of the support of a community. That's always good for startups like this. To be in those kinds of environments. We have many of them up here in Toronto or the Waterloo area and so on, where, they're sort of just, breeding startups and kind of pushing them out into the world. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's an interesting market, and, we'll see how it plays out, I guess, but leveled. Cool. All right, shifting gears now, coming to my my hometown here in Toronto, which is the headquarters for Canada Goose Holdings Inc. Now, Canada Goose, if you're not familiar with it, they've got these really expensive winter parka jackets. They've been a big thing up here for a number of years. I know they're quite popular in the U.S. right now. I don't know if you own one of these, Brianna, or have you seen them around? Atlanta might not be.
I live in Atlanta. No,
might not be the place where you need one of these, but in New York, apparently they're everywhere. But it's a very well, very, very big popular brand with celebrities and many folks. I mean, it's $1,000 US for basically a parka. So these things aren't cheap. But in order to promote sort of the merits of and the quality of this product, what they did up here this year is they just opened up a new sort of showroom type store. And you walk in, it's filled with snow. The temperature in there is minus 12 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Fahrenheit. To get into the room, the temperature controlled room, you have to cross this thing called the crevasse, which is a icy rock face. And literally they have ice on a floor that you're walking and it's cracking and all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to kind of create this wintry sort of, you're outdoors, walking in the snow and the ice and feeling the temperature environment, all put together with 4K video walls of Canadian landscapes. And so it's a complete experience center. And obviously you put on one of their coats and you kind of walk through this experience and you feel how warm and cozy and what $1,000 can buy you is, and all of that. And then there's like a touchscreen tour guide kind of experience. It's described in the article I read as the Disneyfication of the retail environment. And I think that's true. It's all about how do you create experiences? How do you get people to kind of feel and embrace and, think about what it would be like if they had this, this jacket on in the environment. So kind of fun, kind of cool. The interesting thing about it is you can't actually buy the product from the store. So, they don't carry any inventory there. It's basically an experience center to kind of promote the brand and get you connected with it. And then you can order your product from the store before you leave, and then it's shipped out to you, sort of catalog, from the touch screens and all that sort of stuff. So really, really interesting, kind of cool. I got to go see if it's still operating. I wouldn't mind checking it out in person. So not that I have $1,000.
You should definitely check it out. I remember when I was in college, having a big puffy North Face jacket was, all the rage, and you had to have one, but they were $500. And so I saved my money, and me and my boyfriend at the time, who now is my husband, we went to New York and we bought our North Faces, and it was a big deal. But we did not have an ice room to walk through. But yes, I think this is really cool. I love that it's a good experience. It kind of makes me hesitate to say why would they not have inventory right there? Because I think when you're touching and feeling and trying something, you definitely want to be able to walk out the door with it. But I think this is great for experience, great for obviously putting the actual product to the test. Probably not so great for employee claims. I don't know, slip and falls, frigid weather. I don't know, but it sounds like a fun thing to test out. You should definitely go see if it's still
Yeah, they
around.
did say for most customers, like when you kind of walk out and you order from the digital catalog before you leave, the product is shipped like same day. Like you should get it like, the same day. So at least you sort of can kind of,
There's that.
huh?
Almost instant
Yeah.
gratification.
Yeah. I don't know if they're using fulfillment by Amazon or what, but I don't know. But cool experience. I like it. I'm going to go see if I can track it down and check it out. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So our next story is kind of more, I would say, like in the loyalty play. And I think this is a really cool story. This is JP Morgan Chase. And so if you are a Chase Sapphire, Freedom, or Slate card holder, you now have an extra perk. So definitely take advantage of this and check this out. But you can now have a DoorDash DashPass subscription. So this is great, if you like to order for convenience, or, you just don't feel like getting in the car with the kids to go find something to eat when you're running low on groceries. I love DoorDash. I love all of those convenience apps, Instacart, any of those things. Well, now consumers are going to be able to have unlimited food orders for 0 delivery fees and a discounted or reduced service fees. So for Sapphire, Reserve, and Preferred members, they get a whole year membership, which is valued at over $100. And then if you are a, Freedom Unlimited, Freedom Student, and Slate member, you get 3 months for free. And then the remaining 9 months, you get a 50% discount. So what I really like about the story is it's like, it finally, a bank or a credit card or, a credit union, any of those things are providing real loyalty and, value here, because this is something that most people use. So I like that there's like real rewards here, not just some crazy point system that gives you some discount on something later in time that we really know you could probably go find cheaper somewhere else in that moment. So this kind of reminded me recently, I'm a Verizon Wireless subscriber, and one of the perks I got was I got a free year's subscription to Disney Plus, which just came out. And so I was very excited about that. I have little kids. Disney Plus is awesome. I'm not having to buy like all of these movies anymore. And so, to me, I was like, these are the types of partnerships and rewards and things that not only provide the company insight on their consumers, but also provide real value and rewards and increased value. So it made me feel like, yeah, I want to continue to be a Verizon Wireless subscriber because they get me, they're giving me, more, I have good service, all of these other things, right? And I think that probably JP Morgan Chase consumers would feel the same with a loyalty or kind of a perk like this. So I like this story. I want to see more like this, more partnerships like this in 2020, more loyalty plays like this, and less of the, crappy points for redemption and things like that.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think this is a really solid partnership. I think this is a great benefit to cardholders. And I think for me, I was thinking as you were talking about kind of the data analytics side of things, obviously, what we're doing with ground level and cannabis side. And one of the things that we're trying to do there is help brands understand, what the affinities and kind of cross promotional opportunities are between different brands that are complementary or services that are complementary. And I see that here, right? Like in this sector, if you look at it and you say, okay, we're providing our cardholders a value added service here, but, the question is that, okay, these people are, they're eating anyways, they're going to certain restaurants. These restaurants are DashPass, customers, and there's a good correlation between our member base and the customers of these restaurants, and who are using Dash potentially already, or we can tell that they want to, and so finding ways for logical kind of data sort of validated partnerships, I think makes a ton of sense, right? And so yeah, I'm excited about this. I hope that we're going to see more of these. I mean, and there's good value here. Like it's $100 for a DashPass membership, right? So, just providing that as just something you get as a Chase card holder member. I think it's kind of cool. I'm a little bit envious. We don't have this up here in Canada, so bring it on. Come on, Amex. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So, but good value there all around, and I hope to see more partnerships like that. So that's our 3 industry news stories for this week. We'll shift over now to our member news. And I'll start that off with a story about our good friends at Amazon, and in particular Alexa, have teamed up with the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway.
I didn't find a device named TV.
Sorry, that was Alexa heard her name apparently.
Amazing. She's always listening. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Yeah, so she's teamed up with the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, which is the first musical to leverage Alexa now. And so they built this Amazon Alexa skill that lets fans order tickets and pay for them using Amazon Pay and Telecharge directly through their Amazon Alexa. They worked with a AI developer company called Broadway, which I love the spelling. It's BROADW.AI. Broadway. Get it? Yeah, really, really cool. So obviously these guys specialize in working with musicals and theater and the Broadway scene. And so the skill is simply called Phantom. Super, I think it's interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of this year in terms of just more and more skills being developed, more and more brands taking advantage of how they can use voice to simplify the ordering process. In that, we've talked a lot about the power of voice on this show, and how commerce is being taken over with that, and location and search, and how all those things sort of intersect. So I like this.
I like it too. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like the Phantom of the Opera theme song kind of playing through my head over and over again right now, which I will not sing just because I respect.
Come on, just give us a little,
I respect Broadway way too much for that. We don't want to do a huge disservice. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like, well, how often are you actually ordering, Phantom tickets that you need to skill for it? But I think it's cool that it's available, right? Again, like ordering through voice, the ability to do things more conveniently and quickly and easily. I always love that. So yeah, I mean, I think this is fun, and it's with the arts. So anything that we can do to continue to, elevate the arts and make it more convenient for people to participate in that, I think is great.
Yeah, and I think if you can use this kind of skill, like to order multiple different, Broadway show tickets, like if you're a regular Broadway goer, let's say, or theater goer in general, I think being able to kind of order tickets for any show, kind of just adding them into sort of the mix here would be cool. So yeah, I hope it sort of evolves into that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like tickets to a show. So if you have any extra, feel free. I'm in New York often. I would love to join you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my wife and I, we just bought tickets to a show, and it's coming up in a couple of weeks. It's called Come From Away. I don't know if you've heard of that. So it's done very well. It's this show about during 9/11, when all the flights were shut down, and all the planes in the air had to find somewhere to go. They all landed in Newfoundland, up in Canada. And a whole bunch of them. And so there was like all these people all of a sudden who landed there in this small little kind of town, and all the locals basically took them into their homes and kind of like, fed them and, entertained them. So it's about that. So yeah.
Sounds like a beautiful story.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, all right.
Yeah. All right, good date night. So the next story is about Mood Media. So remember a few weeks ago, we talked about how Mood Media was merging their 3 separate teams of techno media. So this seems to be sort of a small sample of what we can expect to come, and what we're going to see from that. So Earth Fair, which we used to have an Earth Fair just down the road, and I loved Earth Fair. It was great. It's an organic grocery store. I think it's based out of Asheville, North Carolina. And unfortunately, it's no longer here, but there are still some around. And they have a store in Charlotte, North Carolina. So this wonderful organic grocery store, and they have upgraded their cafe now to digital signage from Mood Media. So there's like the menu boards with the targeted messaging that we talked about, sort of bringing in that, timeliness of not only just like the menu and what's available within the cafe, but different messages, live sports streaming, weather conditions, all different announcements kind of like, filtering through so that the patrons and participants that are there in the cafe can kind of stay up to date. So, for me, I'm like, this is nothing groundbreaking, but I think this is probably a small sample of what we're going to expect to see in terms of more growth on the digital signage side of Mood Media, and not just, the music piece of what they've done and what we've been used to from Mood Media for so many years. So I like this. I think that when one company is in control maybe of some of these different things, you think about the different consumer touch points. So there's the sight piece of it, there's the hearing piece of it, right? And how that influences them and how that creates a better shopping experience, and just makes things more seamless. Instead of, consumers maybe being down looking at their phone when they're in the cafe, they can like kind of be looking up and around the store and kind of taking in what's around them and further enjoying what's going on in that retailer's location. So I like this. I think this is, like I said, small story, nothing groundbreaking, but I think this is probably just a small taste of what we can expect to see from Mood Media in 2020.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good story. Obviously, Mood Media has been a longtime LVMA member company, and they're always kind of, pushing the boundaries. We've talked about them a little bit on the show in the last quarter. While we've never had an Earth Fair up here in Canada that I'm aware of anyways, it sounds like a fabulous place. For me, the one of the interesting takeaways from reading this story is that so they're using something called the Mood Harmony platform, which kind of brings all these digital assets together from a management perspective. And I guess I don't know how many stores Earth Fair has now, but from sort of a head office perspective, from a management perspective, through the Mood Harmony platform, they're able to control, they say, 180 displays and 400 media devices across all the stores. So I'm assuming this is like all the digital signage, all the audio, music platforms, anything else that they're using, across the sort of Mood ecosystem has a central management capability, and they're able to kind of look at that and make sure that it's all consistent and sort of working, the same in every store and kind of achieving the same goals and kind of looking at the sort of measurement and response from that in sort of like a sort of a single dashboard. So I like that idea of it in particular. I expect we'll hear much more this year from Mood on the digital signage front. But for me, the big plus here is the sort of the centralized management, control of the content across the store network. All right, our final story, member story, is about our friends at Wirecard. A big German payments platform company recently entered the North American market, and they've announced at CES that they have teamed up with Sprint. And it was interesting, back in, I want to say, September, October, I was in New York for sort of a Wirecard launch event that they put on, and Sprint was one of the speaking companies there that they had brought to the event. And so as I'm reading this story this week, I was like, oh, okay, so they've finalized this agreement between the two. So they announced this at CES last Wednesday. It's a new collaboration that brings together Wirecard's sort of commerce payments platforms together with Sprint's Curiosity platform, which is their IoT Internet of Things platform. And together they're calling this the Internet of Payments. And so I like that term. I think it's an interesting way to sort of bring these two environments together. They talk about sort of bringing, the IoT Internet connected device sphere, with sort of real-time data always on, and sort of how that sort of data flows from an IoT platform, and how the commerce data in terms of transactions and all of that can kind of sync up with that. And I think it's interesting because often you hear about whether it's MasterCard or Visa or Amex or whoever we're talking about, you've got these payment terminals and you got the transactions happening, and sort of there's sort of the data that comes from that, which is extremely valuable in any retail setting, to kind of just know what transactions look like, what people are buying, how much they're spending, what the average is, all those kinds of things. but often those, that data is not connected to other platforms. We talk a lot in our industry about, this 3-layer location cake at the LBMA, like this idea of sort of that middle layer of micro location technologies, beacons and Wi-Fi and all those types of technologies, to kind of push offers and messaging and discounts and coupons and all that type of stuff to influence purchases. But what we often say is it sort of falls apart because this internet connected device doesn't then integrate to the transaction layer at the top of the cake. It doesn't talk to the CRM or the loyalty systems or the actual payment platforms. And I think that's kind of what, this initiative speaks, to me about it, is kind of the bridging of those two things of, the IoT sort of knowing what's going on and who's there and what's happening in the building, and how you can link that up to the actual CRM loyalty transaction piece of the puzzle. So it's a step in the right direction for me. Great collaboration between Sprint and Wirecard.
Yeah, I feel like Wirecard is one of those companies that we've talked a lot about in the past probably 6 months, and they've just been making a lot of big moves, from an international front, left and right. And so it looks like they have been selecting some really good key players in terms of partnerships and how they are leveraging those relationships in order to work their way into new territories, such as North America. I think we saw them in China, before.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of seen them really trying to diversify where they're going and taking a multi-pronged approach. And so I think that's really smart from a business perspective. And obviously it seems to be paying off for them. So I would anticipate we'll have more announcements in terms of like partnerships and teaming up on payments from Wirecard this year if this trend continues. So
there you go. And that's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 447 of This Week or no, not this week. I always say that now. Location Weekly. Got to get it through my head. Of 447 of Location Weekly. And we just thank you for listening and watching every week. If you have story ideas, please reach out to us. If you have feedback, criticism, let us know about that too. Please give us some stars, some likes, all that kind of stuff on whatever platform you're consuming this on. And just thank you for listening and watching every week, guys. We appreciate it. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.